Welcome to the Be That Healing Girl podcast. And today we're going to talk about feeling more secure in your relationship starts here. So if you're on the journey, you're with somebody who is lovely, they are so good, and you cannot help but spiral with overthinking, you're second guessing, and they're doing things, and somehow it still feels like it's not enough, and part of you is aware of that, then this is where I really want you to start. And I want you to treat this specifically with the overarching idea and the overarching theme that you want to move and act and be in this energy. When I say energy, I mean your thoughts and your feelings. Okay, we cannot necessarily see or get on paper our thoughts and our feelings, but when I say that, that's really the energy of who we're being in that moment. So if you are in that camp of you are overthinking, you know in your head logically that they're good, but you just cannot help but second guess, then this episode is for you. And if you're new here, my name is Claire. I'm a relationship coach, and I love helping overachieving, overperforming, overgiving girlies who have it all. You have it all. You've got your career lined up, dialed in. You are climbing the corporate ladder. You are building the businesses. You are doing all the things, but somehow you feel not so great in your relationship. You are struggling with anxiety. You are highly anxious around, do they like me? And do they love me? But they have just told you that 5 minutes ago. So if that is you, then buckaroo, because this episode is a great place to start. And if you are enjoying this episode or any other episode, hitting the 5-star review means so much. Seriously, I am just talking to the camera. When I look and see those reviews and the 5 stars, it means a lot. It takes 2 seconds. Thank you for doing that. So typically, actually, the confession I have is I usually have some kind of plan, but I just felt like I had this download around, okay, where would somebody start? If I just had a couple of minutes to share with somebody, how do we actually start feeling more secure? And this is something that I feel is a bit of a misunderstanding for most people. And that is understanding that he wants you, your partner, he, she, them, they want you to just be you. That's actually the key to the understanding to start being and feeling more secure. And I just want to share this, which was, to me, like I might have heard that. I might have heard that jargon or, seen it floating around somewhere, but it didn't really land with me. If I were to say my inner talk around it would be, yeah, okay, I get it, be me. And quite honestly, in many other areas of my life, I felt like I was being me. I felt like I have a good face in front of my colleagues and my peers and my business peers and my friends. Like, I've got it together there. And this is how our subconscious works. It holds us back. Our intimate relationship, our closest romantic relationships will bring up all your stuff. I feel, and if you are in business, you might understand this too, but our relationships, our romantic relationships, bring up the deepest parts of our subconscious. You might have heard this floating around, this saying that, you're my mirror, Justin Timberlake. It's this thing that we hear these days, but I can't even describe to you how deep this goes. And if you're hearing or listening or watching this, I want you to really hear me and feel me, that it goes so incredibly deep. I mean, I was in conversation with Craig the other day, and we have been together for, gosh, I cannot believe I'm saying this. This will be 9 years. What? And we had this moment where it just doesn't feel like that. It doesn't feel like that at all. And in that moment of just landing with that, it was really because how we approach our relationship, and this is a flex, I'll admit it, we are so interested in deeply checking in and not just checking in of like, how do you feel? And how do we, it's so much deeper than that. And I'm happy to share that in the Healing Girl Gang or in one-on-one, like what that actually looks like, but really being and understanding and seeing each other for who we are in this moment authentically, without any pretense, just raw who we are. And I can tell you, it was not always like that, okay? It was not like that for one bit, okay? We, in fact, were just pretending and playing games, not like manipulation necessarily of I want him to do this, maybe not consciously, but for certain we were gaming each other. We were kind of, I call it sliding out the side. We were not being fully honest with each other because there was this deep denial around who we authentically were. And I can't even really speak for Craig. I'm not gonna do that. I'll speak for myself. I really had a hard time being myself, not just in my marriage initially, but in general, really, truly. And I think about this when I first started dating, and I mean, I I'm not proud of this, but when I started having long term boyfriends, I would say this even started when I was out of high school. I had just a series, I'd say 10 years in my 20s. Y'all, I was not single. I would monkey bar. I would stay in a relationship and let it kind of disintegrate and fall apart until I was really clear that I could just hop ship into the next person, to the next relationship. And so I say this to be totally transparent because that's how insecure I was. I just could not be alone. I could not be alone. Even right now, I'm feeling, oof, that is such a major truth telling in this way. I couldn't be alone. And that was like the top, that was the crust. That was the crust of what was happening. And not only was I monkey barring because I had such insecurity about being alone, and I liked the social capital of being in a relationship. I thought that was like a cool thing, and I'm working on being in this relationship, and that's such a cool thing to do and to be somebody's girlfriend for a long time. I just really felt it made me feel self-important. Uh, and the other piece with that was not only was I doing that from relationship to relationship, but inside the relationship, I had a really intense problem with morphing into what I thought that partner would like and who I had to be. And part of that, too, I mean, part of my natural energy is to be very much. I'm a master of a lot of things. If you didn't know this about me, I have a very thorough history around being in yoga and personal training, a strength coach. I was a business mentor for a long time. And I've just had a lot of evolution in my journey. And I have a natural inclination to be able to shift gears and get really good at one thing and then move on to the next. And while that is a bit of a superpower, it was also a bit of an Achilles heel, meaning I would take on these traits and qualities of my partner. And while if I were to meld myself back into that place, I was super proud of that. I was like, see, I can be such a good partner for you. Let me prove it to you. I can be into jujitsu. P.S. Yes, did Claire do jujitsu? 100%. Was I literally sweating and like letting other people sweat? Yeah, I thought it was cool. And if you do that, great. I am not into that anymore because I know who I am. But at that time, that was like the thing that I did. And I mean, I was really into strength training and being a personal trainer and being a strength coach. I mean, I could go down the list of things that I was able to get good at because I really put a lot of weight and a lot of weight into being something for the other person. And now I realize, especially with my marriage, and FYI, just because you're married doesn't mean that you don't have anxious attachment and they don't have avoidant. I mean, this is like, believe me. And one thing that I've really walked away with that has cemented us together and has made our relationship into a secure attachment and healed it into and actively worked to being a secure attachment was that we both are radically committed to being ourselves, to being honest in our relationship. And in being radically committed to being honest and being ourselves in the relationship, that is actually how we have been able to heal both of our attachment styles into more secure. So when I say the starting place of feeling more secure is actually in feeling more secure in being yourself truly. And if you're like me, I mean, I just divulged this whole history. I did not actually feel secure being myself. I had built a lot of weight and importance in being able to show my intelligence, show my talent, show XYZ in order to prove myself to another person. And I want to say this with a lot of love. I want to share this here that your person wants you to be you. In fact, the more that you try to be something that you are not, it's a foundation built on sand. It's not going to last because that's inauthenticity. You're literally building a relationship based on inauthenticity. And so when I say that feeling more secure in a relationship really starts with you, it I mean it. And not only that, they crave, your person will be so drawn to you and it will be so effortless. You don't have to work at it. You don't have to do more things. You don't have to be prettier. No, they will automatically, effortlessly, without you can relax into being loved when you actually relax into being you. I Write that down. Put that on a tattoo. Slap it on your forehead. I don't know what you need to do, but your right person wants you to be you. And your most secure, elevated version of your relationship wants you to be you. So that's where I would start. How can, and the question you can ask yourself is, what do I want? Who am I? Where do I want to be? Who am I in this moment? What do I feel in this moment? Like, the more that you can deepen your understanding and allow yourself without guilt to be that, your relationships, I'm telling you, will totally change. They will ascend. That's what happens. All right. So that's my little download. I just felt like if that was my download today, I just had to get in front of here and say this to you. I hope it lands for you. This is where you start. So let's turn to the mailbox. If you aren't familiar, I have a community called the Healing Girl Gang. Super dope. Trainings, implementation days, actionable steps, tangible things to do, coaching. It's the whole nine. And one of the cool things about being in the Healing Girl Gang is that you get to ask questions. And I love this. This is like kind of my jam, to be able to answer questions. If you have come across me on TikTok, this is like what I like to do. So let's talk about it. Katie S. My ex and I recently went our separate ways after trying the friends thing after breaking up 5 months ago. He's in therapy for past trauma, and his trauma triggered my anxious attachment, so I'm in therapy again, but it broke us. First of all, congratulations for both of you for getting support. Awesome. Earning secure attachment again after a lifetime of anxiety cycles in relationships is hard at my age, but I'm determined to stop the cycle and break the behavior patterns. My biggest fear is being alone, and I know it's anxious attachment, but I'm struggling and am asking for help getting past that. Okay, so first of all, Katie, I totally I hear you. I can really, even though this is a very tight question, I want to just let you know that I can feel the depth of this. I can really feel the depth of where you're at. I can feel the frustration, and I'm gonna even just say shame. I can really hear that. And so part of what I am committed to in doing this podcast and sharing on my content is I want you to know that you're not alone. And one of the biggest things that I have broken through and that I teach other clients to break through is how you talk to yourself and this feeling of shame and guilt. And I want to remind you that you're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. And we all have gaps in where we're at in our journey. So I can just feel that from you. I feel it's really important to speak that. And if you're listening and you're not Katie, this is also for you too. So I want to just say, when you say my biggest fear is being alone, then Katie girl, that's what you want to look at. Because a lot of times we look to our partner as the one that's going to save us, that's going to make us feel not alone. And what feels really important to say around that is that's a lot of responsibility to put on somebody else. And for me, I'll just admit this with Craig, I used to really feel like he was going to save me. And I got called out on this from a good friend of mine who she would just kind of push this aside, but she's like one of my angels. And we were having a really interesting time in our relationship and our marriage, and she kind of called me out on this in a big way, and not in a direct way, but she basically said, yeah, we want them to be our white knight, and we want them to save us. And I know at the time I was very resistant to hearing that no, but if I were to get real with you and get honest, and when I got real with myself after I got called the F out, I did. I really wanted him to save me, that if this relationship's going to save me, if I can be with this person, I won't feel XYZ, that if he will make it better, he will take care of me. And I say this with so much love. Nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's coming to save you. And while we could look on the internet and all these things, like, the reality is, to be human is to be alone. That's actually true. On a very big cosmic level, to be human is to be alone. We enter this world out of our mother's womb alone. Yeah, there's people around, but nobody is actually being birthed next to you. Even if you are a triplet or a twin, you come out in separate ways. You enter the portal by yourself. The same is true with death. When we transcend into that next place, we die alone. We might have family around us. We might have a nurse there, but we are alone. And and that's kind of mind bendy, but it's true. We are alone, that we go through that experience by ourselves. And in that aloneness, that is what connects us together. That everybody's scared of dying, and everybody dies. And in that, it is also the thing that connects our humanity. So I hear you on that fear of being alone, and I think it's really important for us to acknowledge that is just the human experience. And when you can fully face that fear, and therapy is a great place, and counseling, I'm all for that. And for me, at least, in the realm of looking at relationship, I had to go to the deep end. I needed more support than the years of therapy that was given to me. And it is something that we have to face. And when we look at that in relationships specifically, that fear of being alone, when we put that on another person, it is a lot of pressure, because they actually can't carry it for us. They actually can't. So then how do we work through and have the courage and develop the skill sets to navigate our fear of being alone? That's a different story. And I just want to say this as an ending thought, that if our fear is being alone, then what's required for that is courage. Now, the interesting thing about courage is that courage can't exist without fear. Think about that. Chew on that. The fear needs to be present for us to gather courage, for us to rise. So while I hear you around the biggest fear of being alone, I want you to feel the connection, that I understand that, and that in your feeling alone, I understand that, and there's a whole community here that understands that as well. And you are not alone in that. So that feels like a pretty good download for everyone. And of course, you're in the Healing Girl Gang. You're getting lots of support. Stay connected. Keep working at it. It's not going to just poof go away, because that's just not how healing works. All right. Loving you, angels. Mwah.